When I was just a baby, not even 1 year old, I was on the floor of our kitchen with a wooden spatula in my hand, banging on pots and pans. And my mom, who was a band director, looked down at me and she said, "My little baby boy is gonna be a drummer." And I looked back up at her and I said, "Nyang, nyang, 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 nyang." I was 1 year old. I didn't know how to speak English. But a couple years later, I was talking real good. And eventually, I did become a drummer boy. But it took a long time to get good at speaking English and at drumming. Why is it that some skills we can learn like that, and other skills it takes a lifetime to learn? If you're trying to compete with the people who are at the top of their game, you will almost certainly always lose because they're not playing the game on the same field as you are. Madam President, fellow Toastmasters and guests, my premise for you is that optimal performance can only be achieved in heaven. But heaven is a state of being called flow, and the stairway to flow is right in front of you. Michal Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the term flow, describes it as a state of complete immersion in an activity where action and awareness merge, self-confidence dissolves, and timing is distorted. The first step on the stairway to heaven is to match your challenges to your skills. Remember the first time you tried to learn another language? This experience might be more vivid for my American friends. ¿Algunos de mis amigos americanos hablan español aquí? Sí, qué bien. Learning a second language as an adult is frustrating because the challenge is often too much for our skill level, and that gap makes the brain experience time very slowly. But there's another time where the clock seems to take a nap, and it's when we're in an activity that completely bores us. Sometimes, some of us go into work for 8 hours a day, and it feels like we should be getting paid in dog years. Right? Now, boring work makes us age faster. The good news is that you can go on the offense without changing a single thing about your job. That's right, you can actually change time by implementing more of it. Instead of watching a clock on the wall, you watch a timer that you set for yourself. By adding a deadline that you create, you immediately add a new challenge for your brain, and now you're not doing a task, you're running a race. And it's this concept of time restriction that drives almost every sporting event. So it's no wonder that athletes are some of the people who experience these flow states most often. If you've ever dribbled a basketball, you know right away if you're doing it right or wrong. If you're doing it wrong, it feels like your brain got slam dunked into a bucket of peanut butter. It doesn't feel very good. But when you hit that rhythm, it feels like the rebound of the ball is an extension of your body. And when I was teaching drums, using that rebound concept is one of the easiest ways to get people to understand what drumming is. Drummers and ballers become so passionate about their craft that they do it even in the face of struggle and suffering. Struggle is actually part of the magic of flow, and we can't reach those flow states without that resistance. Whether it's a ball or a drumstick, the element of pushing into your environment and having the environment push back is what creates that hypnotic state of flow. But we're all adults here. We don't got time for fun and games. We have quarterly targets and KPIs. So let's get back to work, shall we? The top performers in your company have the same 24 hours as you do. Yet they might create significantly more results, but are they actually doing more work? Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes. But more often than not, they're actually doing less work, but better. In 2019, I was working at a tech company in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And from my desk, I could see the CEO go into a room At the top of the hour, 30 minutes later, he would reemerge and beeline into another room where he would then stay for another 30 minutes. This pattern repeated 5 or 6 times before lunch even came. My first thought was, geez, no wonder he gets paid the big bucks. He's talking to everybody. Then I got curious. I looked at the calendars of the rest of the C-suite, and yes, they all had meetings as well, but I noticed a pattern. In each one of the C-suite's calendars, at least once a day, they had a 90-minute block that said no meetings. They gave themselves enough time to focus without distraction. In the 1934 book called Becoming a Writer, the author gives us a rule. She says, you will sit down to write every day, but you are not allowed to do anything else. The writing may or may not come, but showing up is non-negotiable. So the third step on the stairway to heaven is to focus long enough without distraction. Flow isn't just for drummers or ballers or the C-suite. It's for you, here and now. Find a challenge that matches your skill level, get immediate feedback from your environment, and focus long enough without distraction. This is the stairway to heaven, and the next step is yours. Madam Toastmaster.